everyday hustle and bustle, working in a hole, not seeing daylight, that's very difficult. I've been doing it almost 30 years. But, when I get those rewarding moments, somebody calls you up and says thank you. And that's what I'm here for. And that's what keeps me getting up every day, coming into this place with a smile, happy, energizing my staff, being part of a family and a team here because of moments like that. Finding us, very tricky. You have to find track number 38, the only real landmark that'll get you to us. We work in a hole in the wall, and it's amazing the kind of business that we've created out of that space. It's not a friendly space. We deal with leaks, we deal with temperature changes between heat and cold, and we keep it clean, but it's a huge challenge. And when we really got into watchmaking and started handling people's expensive watches, we realized that we had to do it a better way. So we evolved up into here, up into this beautiful space, and we have 8 technicians now doing nothing else but fixing watches. I remember always as a kid coming into the store. I used to love it because there were so many cool things to play with when you were a little kid. It was one of my favorite things to do was to go in, grab one of these watches, take it in the back, open it up, play around with the insides. And before I was ever really taught what to do or how to do it, I just kind of learned on my own. My grandfather was taught by his father-in-law, but I think that was a way that you could always make a living. So when he knew one day he would come to the States, he'd have a skill to at least come here and start to do something to be able to work and earn a living. My father started coming in as a very young child. He was a teenager when he was coming and running errands for my grandfather. I know my dad went to law school for a couple of years and decided that wasn't for him either. He just started full-time working in the business and didn't end for 60 years for him. It's hard not to try your family business, not to see what it's all about. So shortly after college, I think one other job before I said, yeah, let me just come in. Let me see if it's something that I could, really embrace and want to follow the legacy of my grandfather and my dad. And that was the start of it all. My first watch in there is an LA Rams watch. It looks like it should be for a girl because it's yay big and it's got a yellow strap on it because those are the Rams colors. Unfortunately, we had to be made fun of over the years of having yellow, but that was a mechanical watch, which I think my parents gave me when they knew I was a Rams fan when I was 10 years old. And I believe that was one of my first watches. Then I got a Superman watch after that, and it's also a mechanical watch. And as you see, I wear it on a nylon band that kind of matches all the coloring of the dial. But I was a huge Superman fan, so of course, why not give your son a Superman watch? So, those are the memories of getting those as gifts from my parents. Since then, I bought a lot of nice Rolexes because I really fell in love with that brand. And I fell in love with Submariners. So the first one that I bought myself, I was at a watch show and I saw this beautiful 5513 and it was stunning. The dial, the hands, they were perfect, matching color, original bezel insert. I really fell in love with this watch and I started talking to the guy selling it and it was his father's watch. And I think his father had passed and he was ready to sell the watch. And I ended up buying the watch for $1,400. At a show where there were dealers there, and it was sitting in the middle of this guy's case. And I don't know, we were well into an hour into the show, how somebody didn't swipe that watch up. It just was almost like fate. But that was one I always kept, and I kind of felt would probably go to one of my daughters one day. Since then, I've bought a couple of 1680s, which are the Submariners with the calendar, both from the 70s. One of them has the red writing on the Submariner. I think they both even have the original Rolex stickers on the backs of the watches. The one 1680 without the red, the coloration also is just drop dead gorgeous. Something that I really love when it turns that real brown color. As far as my Submariner collection, I feel very complete. The last watch that I'm going to discuss, I actually just purchased a couple weeks ago. And it was a watch that we sold to the customer that I purchased it from. And it's just a regular Datejust, but it has a Buckley dial. But the color of this dial is called Perch. At least I was told by one of the guys who used to work at Rolex for a long time. I've never seen another one. For years, they always kind of teased me with the watch, and I'd say, yeah, if you ever want to sell it back, I really want to buy this watch back from you. And I didn't want to buy it to resell it. I really wanted to keep the watch. For probably 15 years, I've been thinking about this watch and kind of talking about this dial because it was special to me. 2 weeks ago, he came in and he said, I'm ready to sell the watch. And sure enough, I purchased it. And as you can see, it's a stunning Rolex that you've probably never seen before. I think a lot of people out there probably haven't. We're not talking any kind of crazy money, but just something unusual with the attachment and the story that I have for that watch. Working with 3 generations worth of customers. People tell me that are my age now and older that I remember you as a kid in the store. I remember your grandfather. My grandfather I used to get daily, and what an unbelievable person he was, and your father, and so on and so forth. There's something amazing, the feeling of being part of a generational business which doesn't really exist anymore. It's very difficult to have 2 generations, let alone 3. Giving back to the community. We had a woman who had an Omega, her father gave her, he passed away, she ran it over with her car. I think the pictures are on my website, with a picture of her father holding her up as a baby wearing the Omega watch. We fully restored the watch, so it was her watch that she remembered, her dad's watch that he had given to her, or when he passed, she took. And she cried. She came to the store to pick it up. And it's not the first time. It's happened many, many times that somebody's come in tears because we've restored something that they remembered looking a certain way but was so beaten and worn. You give it back to them working, and my God, you see, it's like you saved a life, but you saved the life of a watch.